There's some Kathy sitting right there. So neat.
There you go. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could remind you, if you could silence your phones too, we have a big crowd tonight, so if you just turn the ringer off or something, but appreciate that. Roll call.
Kushner,
Here.
Osborne,
Here.
Latari. Here. Jones.
Here.
Euler.
Here. Approval of city council minutes of April 8th.
Move to approve.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. No.
Oh, sorry, Euler, Mayor Euler. I apologize.
It's a conditioned response for several years.
Thank you for.
Adoption of agenda, please.
Move to adopt agenda as presented.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have some really important proclamations tonight, so appreciate everybody coming out tonight. And the first proclamation is National Mental Health Awareness Month. Would someone come up, or April and Megan, if you want to come up, or? Good to see you again.
It's good to see you. Thank you.
Okay, National Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2024. Whereas National Mental Health Awareness Month was established in 1949 to increase awareness of the importance of mental health and wellness in Americans' lives and to celebrate recovery from mental illness. And whereas mental health is an essential part of overall well-being, impacting individuals, families, and communities across Missouri, including the city of Warrensburg. And whereas 1 in 5 American adults experiences a mental health condition each year, and everyone faces challenges in life that can impact their mental health. And whereas despite its prevalence, mental health remains shrouded in stigma, preventing many from seeking help. And whereas early intervention and its access to quality care are crucial for managing mental health conditions and improving quality of life. And whereas Cause for Hope, founded in February 2018, is an educational, volunteer-driven, nonprofit organization based out of Johnson County, Missouri, and recognized for its dedication to raise awareness for mental wellness and suicide prevention through support, education, research, and resource facilitation. And now therefore, I, Bruce D. Euler, Mayor, along with the City Council of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri, proclaim May 2024 as National Mental Health Awareness Month, and encourage all citizens to raise awareness, combat stigma, seek help if they're struggling with their mental health, and encourage others to do the same and support organizations that provide mental health services and advocacy. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and seal this 13th day of May. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Can we get one more picture for the city?
Oh,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Will you turn the proclamation around? Yeah.
thank you. All right, thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Proclamation, National Jewish American Heritage Month, May 2024. Yeah. National Jewish American Heritage Month, May 2024. Whereas in 1654, a small ship carrying 23 Jewish refugees who had bravely sought sanctuary arrived at New Amsterdam, fleeing oppression and discrimination. Yet they faced resistance from the colony's leaders and members, marking the beginnings of a journey that would shape the course of a Jewish American history. And whereas, despite centuries of encountering prejudice, persecution, and adversity, Jewish Americans demonstrated their resilience, faith, and hope, and proved themselves to be loyal and patriotic citizens of this nation, and built the foundation of our nation to stand up for justice, equality, and freedom. And whereas Jewish Americans contributed enormously in areas such as government, law, medicine, business, education, and art, they continue to enrich our nation as educators, scientists, public health leaders, community leaders, public officials, military service members, diplomats, entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, entertainers, and many more. And whereas in February 2006, the United States Congress passed a resolution to urge the president to issue a proclamation to observe Jewish American Heritage Month to honor and celebrate the countless contributions of Jewish Americans to our society. Following April, President George W. Bush proclaimed May as Jewish American Heritage Month. And whereas the city of Warrensburg recognizes the importance and contributions of Jewish Americans in our community, urges all members of the community to learn more about their heritage and contributions, and is committed to supporting them by standing against any form of anti-Semitism. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Bruce D. Euler, Mayor, along with the City Council of Warrensburg, is proud to honor the history and contributions of Jewish Americans in our community, and do hereby proclaim this month of May 2024 as National Jewish American Heritage Month, in witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and seal this 13th day of May.
And there, you might as well stay up.
Yes, yes.
Because we have that.
Wonderful, this is great. See over here. Proclamation Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, May 2024. Whereas Asian and Pacific Islander API Heritage Month is an annual celebration that recognizes the historical and cultural contributions of individuals and groups of Asian and Pacific Islander descent to the United States. The API umbrella term includes cultures from the entire Asian continent, including East, Southeast, and South Asia, and the Pacific Islands of Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. And whereas the American story, as we know, it would be impossible without the strength, contributions, and legacies of APIs who have helped build and unite this country in each successive generation. And whereas Asian and Pacific Islanders make our nation more vibrant through diverse cultures, languages, and religions, and whereas present-day inequities faced by API communities are rooted in our nation's history of exclusion, discrimination, racism, and xenophobia against Asians, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders have endured a long history of injustice, including the Page Act of 1875, the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, and the incarceration of Japanese American citizens during World War II. And whereas we recognize and honor the many ways that API people have enriched the fabric of our society, while also rededicating ourselves to advancing inclusion, belonging, and acceptance to all API communities. Now, therefore, I, Bruce D. Euler, Mayor, along with the City Council of the City of Warrensburg, is proud to honor this history and contributions of API people in our community and do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS. Awareness Month, May 2024. Is anyone here?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I guess not.
Yeah, I'm just gonna mention, if you know Tony Vick and Karen Vick, two amazing people in our community. So we're very honored to be able to proclaim this as ALS Awareness Month, May 2024. Whereas amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a progressive, fatal neurodegenerative disease in which a person's brain loses connection with the muscles and slowly taking away their ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. And whereas approximately 5,000 people are diagnosed with ALS each year, with a new diagnosis every 90 minutes. And whereas on average, patients diagnosed with ALS only survive 2 to 5 years from the time of diagnosis. And whereas people who have served in the military are twice as likely to develop ALS, leading to the United States Department of Veterans Affairs recognizing ALS as a service-connected disease. And whereas securing access to new therapies, durable medical equipment, and communication technologies is of vital importance to people living with ALS. And whereas clinical trials play a pivotal role in evaluating new treatments, enhancing quality of life, and fostering assistive technologies for those living with ALS. Whereas we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Ice Bucket Challenge, enhancing quality of life and fostering assistive technologies for those living with ALS. And whereas we celebrate the 10th, and whereas ALS Awareness Month increases the public's awareness of people with ALS, their dire circumstances, and acknowledges the terrible impact this disease has, not only on the person, but on his or her family and the community, and recognizes the research being done to eradicate this disease. Now therefore, I, Bruce D. Euler, Mayor, along with the City Council of Warrensburg, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as ALS Awareness Month, and in witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and seal this 13th day of May. Thank you. Item 6, presentation of recognition certificates presented by Phil Adlich, Interim Public Works Director.
Yes. So can I get Terry Hawks and Brandon Goshaw to come up here, please?
Yeah, I'd love
to. Yeah, appreciate it very much. So these are certificates of recognitions of the life saving that you all did in February of 2024 with Tyler Kelsey. You guys, your quick reaction, your decisiveness saved his life. And we wanted to recognize both of you for that and appreciate your quick response to helping out a fellow coworker. So thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Okay, item 7, public hearing. A public hearing on an ordinance rezoning land located at 401 Franklin Street from R2, 1 and 2 family residence district to R4, medium density multifamily residence district. Presented by Barbara Carroll, Director of Community Development.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This is a property that is at the corner of, to the northeast corner of Cleburne Street. Yeah, Cleburne, the other one's Cleburne. Cleburne Street and Franklin Street. And the property is currently zoned R2, 1 and 2 family dwelling district. And the applicant has requested that it be zoned to R4, medium density multifamily residence. It is adjacent to R4, both on the north and the west property lines. And then it's adjacent to single family on the south and the east property, or not single family, R2 on the south and the east property lines. The applicants have purchased the property and would like to develop it with a townhouse type of unit, a triplex. So it would be 3 units, 3 townhouse units, side by side in one structure. The zoning ordinance, an R4 district, would allow that type of development. The current R2 district would not. The current zoning would only allow 2 units. It would allow a duplex, and they could be in a townhouse configuration. So that a 2-unit dwelling is allowed in the R2, 1 and 2 family dwelling unit district. Additionally, the property as it is today is 9,975 square feet. And the R4 district, if it was rezoned to that, would require a 10,000 square foot lot in order to have a triplex. A duplex would require 8,500, so it meets that regardless of which zoning district it's in. But in an R4 district, for a triplex, it would need 10,000 square feet. So the applicant learned this after they purchased the lot and would like to, if the zoning is approved, then they'd like to pursue having the alley vacated and replatted into the lot in order to meet the 10,000 square foot. Or they could, in theory, but I don't actually know this could be done because I don't know the impact on the other lot. In theory, they could purchase from the adjacent lot. But I don't know yet the impact on the adjacent lot. So what they've stated to staff is they'd be interested in the alley. The Planning and Zoning Commission looked at this item, took up this item at their meeting last week and had a significant amount of public comment. And all of that has been summarized in your staff report. In addition, there was a email sent from the Clayton Johnson that is two of his comments to city staff prior to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and his comments at the Planning and Zoning Commission are summarized in your packet. He also emailed comments to each of the council members, and I believe you received those last Friday. So that also has been communicated to you from him directly. As of the Planning and Zoning Commission did not recommend approval of the rezoning. So at the point in time you vote on this, if it would be your desire to approve the resolution, the ordinance, and approve the rezoning, then to successfully rezone it would take 4 yes votes of 5. Because the Planning and Zoning Commission did not recommend approval, that triggers a 4/5 majority. So if that is how you want to vote, know that it would take 4 out of 5. However, you will not get to vote tonight. The staff has not received an original signature on the application as of this evening. We have been told it was mailed a week and a half to 2 weeks ago to us from Nashville, but we have not received it yet. So we placed it on the agenda thinking surely it would get here within 2 weeks. It did not get here. And so we can have the public hearing tonight. We should have the public hearing tonight. It's been advertised for tonight, so we want to have that tonight. And then I would recommend reading the ordinance for the first time and then not advancing it to the second reading. And we would place it on your June agenda for a second reading. We did leave the applicant a voicemail this evening at 4:30 and told them we had not received it yet and we would not be able to let you take final action on it tonight. The applicant might be attending via Zoom. I don't know if he is there.
Somebody named Ash.
Okay. So with that, we'll take public comment.
You should vote the public hearing.
Mhm.
Call them up.
Correct.
Clayton Johnson, please.
Mhm.
Yeah. Clayton, if you would just state your address too. Thank you.
Current address is 819 South Main Street, Warrensburg, Missouri. 64093.
Thank you.
Good evening, council member, community. I wasn't sure, I did send the email out and I wasn't sure how many had sent it or had a chance to view it, so you're just gonna hear me state it in my words or basically read it. My name's Clayton Johnson. I'm here with my wife Tammy. As nearly lifelong residents of Warrensburg and property owners of the next to the property that's currently being requested to change the rezoning classification, we spoke in opposition at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on May 6th. This neighborhood is zoned R2. It's an example of affordable single-family homes in Warrensburg. We are of the opinion that our community needs to protect affordable family homes for families who can have access to a home, a yard and a place to call their own. They're diminishing in town. We've rented and owned and rented this property to a family the entire 6 years we've owned it. And they're happy there and have expressed interest in staying longer and enjoy the community. The rest of the block, we do mention that there's on the east side and south side, the entire block and basically the community are single family homes. There is one, I think, multiple, it's probably been rezoned and passed. It is a multiple density building down further down the block, but for the most part, the houses are surrounding it on both sides of the block and on down the block is homes where, for the most part, families are living. There are apartments in the area, and that's what we've mentioned that. And they're spreading deeper into our neighborhoods while we continue to allow our R1 and R2 zonings to be reclassified. We do not claim to be the city planners. Nor can we speak on the issue that I think is at stake here, is on the issues of whether the requested change promotes the health, safety, and morals of the general welfare of the Warrensburg community. It appears to us, though, that who's benefiting here is someone who's made a purchase and then is submitting a request to change the zoning. And we believe that the request is at the detriment of the general welfare of those who own and live in this current R2 neighborhood. At the current time, unless it changes, the lot size currently does not qualify for R4 classification. An option that's been presented to request and claim an alleyway to increase the lot size to the minimal that is allowed to, it has been presented. We submit that this alleyway allows access to the back sides of the houses for all those that live on the block. And to shut it off and claim the end of it, it does not allow that. Our renters have used this access to deliver sand within the last year or two. Neighbors, and I've been there, have driven through the backside. I kind of wonder what they were doing. It's an alley. They've driven through the backside to access down trees and remove them from the properties. If you're familiar and drive down the block, it's an older neighborhood. Houses are very close and access in between the homes is kind of limited. I mean, this alleyway provides, it's the entire blocks access to the backs of their house. Not that the entire block, the entire alleyway on both sides. This is the means of getting in and out of with heavy stuff or out of their houses. We don't necessarily as much oppose this request as much as we deem it important that the property owners along this alleyway retain the right to access the alley, because I think they would be disadvantaged if you were to close it off. I challenge the fact that whether it is an abandoned alleyway. We've been mowing, it's there, and people have driven through it. The situation to me appears to be that it's kind of a situation where someone's under purchased a lot. Now they're requesting zoning and attempting to overdevelop it. They have every right under the current zoning that they purchased it under R2 to build a 2-family duplex. Our fear is that once rezoned, though, I mean, they state what's to stop and prevent a developer from changing their plans from a 3-plex to even a larger complex. I haven't seen plans, and I don't think plans have been submitted. And can they change plans? That's what then if someone wants something's been rezoned multi-family. That's pretty much all I have. In conclusion, I appreciate your service. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your consideration, and we ask you to support the Planning and Zoning Commission's decision by voting no on this rezoning request. Thank you.
Thank you, Clayton. Denver Long, same issue, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, You would just give us your address, Denver?
Yes, 1202 Aldridge Way, 64092. Hi, I was here last week, spoke in support of this issue. It's got a little backstory. Yes, I have no affiliation really. I helped as a guide while making the purchase. Now, in the MLS system, which pulls from I forget which system that the county has, but that lot was listed at 10,075 square feet, which would have qualified for the multifamily. Now, the alley, we're talking about 4 inches on the short side to make up the 25 square feet. I would like to think reasonable, but the lot is 130 by 75. And he's right, under the current zoning, we could build a duplex. And we could build a 4,500 square foot footprint of a duplex under the current zoning based on setbacks and the lot size. We're proposing a 2,800 square foot footprint for a triplex. We didn't want R4. We called and requested R3. According to Warrensburg planning, that is future planning R2, R3. But because it's not adjacent to R3, we have to request R4. It seems to me there's a disconnect between where the city wants to go and the plan on how we're going to get there. That's all I'm saying. And then affordable housing. Where does that metric come from? Is it simply the cost it costs you to rent it per month? Or do we not account for how drafty those old homes are? How long it takes to heat them, how long it takes to cool them, faulty wiring, asbestos, lead paint. They are, yes, they're affordable, but are they humane and are they actually livable? In the heat of summer, when it was so hot this summer and so cold last year, you know how many houses I had to unfreeze the pipes out from under on that street? It's not the same thing as affordable. Now, if we build this, or somebody builds it, they build it, it's gonna have to meet code as far as being energy efficient. And it's gonna have 6-inch thick walls because it's gonna be easier to heat, cheaper to do all of your appliances. There's a cost benefit there. And to speak of the alley, we're talking about a structure that is 70 by 40. There's no encroachment on said alley. I don't understand why we have to vacate an alley just to build a 70-foot structure on a 130-foot lot. A fire truck pulling a trailer could go through there, even though there's no actual gravel drive or anything. It's just grass. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Denver.
Ask if there's anyone.
Yes. Is there anyone else that would like to speak out on this issue? Okay. The public hearing is not closed. Item 7.2. Public hearing on an ordinance amending section 27-406 of the Code of City Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri, regarding parking requirements for land use 2.220, sales and rental of goods, merchandise and equipment, business where storage and displays of goods outside a fully enclosed building are allowed. Miscellaneous presented by Barbara Carroll, Director of Community Development.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. There is a copy of 2 pieces of the current city code in your packet, and I would refer you to the one that is numbered 1556 at the bottom. This is section 27-200 of our table, section 27-200 of the Code of City Ordinances, which is the table of uses within your zoning ordinance. And while that is a very long table, the second page of it under what starts at the bottom of the first page, where it starts with 2.000 sales and rental of goods, merchandise and equipment. And then for the rest of the section 2.0, it starts parsing that down into more specific types of uses. So that is our general retail category. All of our retail businesses in town somehow fit under 2.000. And most of them probably fit within 2.110, where no storage or storage and display fully within an enclosed building miscellaneous. That's most of them. As they move merchandise into a dedicated outside area, such as like Lowe's has with their landscaping section, or Walmart has with their landscaping section, then that would move them to the category 2.200, where it says business where storage and display of goods outside a fully enclosed building allowed. So you can move from one to the other pretty easily on any given summer or season, actually. And in 2003, the city adopted an ordinance 3860. Copy of that's also in your packet. And that ordinance specified for land uses 2.110 and 2.120. Those first ones we talked about, what's called a big box parking standard. And so that ordinance in 2003 created a standard for parking where for the first 16,000 square feet of your building, in this case, building, for the first 16,000 square feet, you would require one parking space for 200 square feet of building area. Over 16,000 square feet, then you would require it at one parking space for 350 square feet. And that's because you've seen a change in retail going that far back or earlier. We were not one of the first communities to adopt that standard. Where retailers, the supply chain has changed where it comes in the back door and it goes right out on the floor. There is not a lot of storage and warehousing of goods. It's on-time demand. And so it comes in and it goes out on the floor. And as that happened with your big box stores, they were being penalized and overbuilding parking because there wasn't a section of the building we could point to and say, oh, that's storage. And we use that in our storage calculation, which is one parking space per 5,000 square feet. And so when it's all out on the floor, it's all considered retail, and they were overbuilding their parking lots. You don't see the proportionate increase of traffic, vehicular traffic per square foot at a certain point. And the city of Warrensburg set that point at 16,000 square feet. So we've used that standard for a long time until recently. We've had a proposal, a building permit come in that would fall into use group 2.220, which is goods and storage indoor and outdoor. And that one did not get included in that 2003 ordinance. And so this evening we're here with an ordinance that staff has drafted that would simply use that big box standard, parking standard on the use 2.220. So that's the ordinance that you have in front of you this evening. No other changes to your parking ordinance. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that. Planning and Zoning Commission did consider this at their meeting last week and recommended approval of the ordinance as presented.
Comments, questions?
This is specifically only about
This is just
parking.
our public hearing, so I think we'll save questions for
Okay.
deliberation.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no one signed up.
Is there anyone here to speak from the public? Okay. Thank you. All right, with that, we'll close the public hearing portion of that. Yep, item 8, we'll just have a first reading tonight. Item 8, an ordinance rezoning land located at 401 Franklin Street from R2, 1 and 2 family residence district to R4, medium-density multifamily residence district. This is just the first reading.
Are welcome to deliberate and have any discussions about it now, but we just will not take action.
Right.
Wait until our next meeting as well.
There's no questions.
Sure.
8.2. An ordinance amending section 27-406 of this Code of City Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri regarding parking requirements. Right. Okay, I just want to make sure. Requirements for land use 2.220. Sales and rental of goods, merchandise and equipment, and business where storage and display of goods outside a fully enclosed building allowed, miscellaneous.
Is there a question?
Yes, so this is only about parking. It doesn't, could it affect things like required number of trees in a parking lot or anything else related to the parking? It's just about
No,
number of.
It
lots.
does not, it does not change how many trees are required per number of spaces. And it does not change how much buffer is required, like the actual landscape requirement doesn't change. For a specific project, there are additional islands and separation of parking areas required when they go over 100 parking spaces. And if the ordinance is not amended, they will go over 100. If it is amended, they will stay under 100. So the actual standard isn't changing, but the impact on what gets built would change.
Thank you.
And will they be required to have, something for runoff, a basin?
Yes, they've done a hydrology study, a stormwater runoff, and designed I can never remember the difference between detention and retention, but they have designed that on the site,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you're right here. 8.2. Any other discussion?
Any other discussion?
Ask for a motion.
Motion to move to second reading by title only.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes,
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
This is an ordinance, this is for adoption or rejection. An ordinance amending section 27-406 of the Code of City Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri regarding parking requirements for land use 2.220, sales and rental of goods, merchandise and equipment, business where storage and display of goods outside a fully enclosed building allowed, miscellaneous. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
yes,
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
8.3, an ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute an amendment to the contract with Burns and McDonald Company, Inc. for the Rethink McGuire project presented by Daniel Doolin, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, City Council. I'm actually going to talk about the next two ordinances at the same time, if that is all right with you. As we have embarked on our big generational project of Rethink McGuire to rethink, rebuild, and revitalize our infrastructure here in the community. One of the design elements that came up is that we need to look at doing some underground stormwater detention to try to get some of that water off of McGuire Street. as we were kind of looking into that and looking at the design, we realized that there is a segment of sanitary sewer that is only about 3 feet deep underneath the roadway. So that infrastructure was built in 1930. We believe that it is clay pipe. And so we are very concerned about this infrastructure. As we started talking with our contractors, Capital Paving, they shared with us some experience they have that when you start doing any kind of excavation around that sanitary sewer, that it really just starts to crumble. And once it starts to crumble, that clay pipe is just very fragile. We had a similar challenge of something like that along Young Street a couple years ago where we had a significant repair. So we can all imagine kind of what we could possibly be dealing with. So rather than wait and see and find out, we are proposing to amend our contract with Burns and McDonald and with Capital Paving to move forward with doing an inspection and assessment of the condition of our sanitary sewer along the corridor. So we are looking at about 3,000 linear feet of sanitary sewer that we would be cameraing. It is closed circuit television. So if you see CCTV, that is what we are talking about, is closed circuit television. We actually put a camera down the line, and then we have our engineers will go in and they are specially trained to be able to view that video. I imagine it is very similar to a doctor who's doing any kind of endoscopy. It's very difficult. They only know what they're looking at because they have been trained on it and have lots of experience doing that. So they will take a look. They will assess the interior of that sanitary sewer along the corridor without having to dig it all up prior to that. And then Burns and McDonald will take that information, make a recommendation about any repairs, rehabilitation, or replacement that need to be done on the sanitary sewer along the corridor. Truly think that this is an opportunity. The last thing we want, right, is to do our big Rethink McGuire corridor rehabilitation and then have a sewer line fail under our brand new road. So I really think this is a recommended action of city staff, Burns and McDonald, and Capital Paving Construction. It would be an amendment to Burns and McDonald contract for $45,000. $45,464 to be exact. And then the amendment for Capital Paving is not to exceed $58,600 for them to bring in and have that CCTV, so the closed circuit television crew. They will procure those services for us under our construction manager at risk contract. And then that $45,000 is to have Burns and McDonald inspect and assess. Brenda Mackey, our project manager at Burns and McDonald, is here. If you have any additional questions for her, she is happy to stand for those, and as well as I am.
Maybe in context for people here, what year was those pipes? Is that 1954?
I believe these are actually 1930s.
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 There you go.
1930s, yes, Bill, 1930s, okay.
All right.
Yep, they're in the 1930s. And one thing I did want to mention, if council does pass this ordinance at this time with a first and second reading, we will begin this work probably this week. So we will start to see lane closures along McGuire as we're starting to do the CCTV. And we will be sure to communicate that on our Rethink McGuire Facebook page. So it's getting very real. You will start to see the surveyor is coming out. He's going to start putting stakes in the ground to start identifying where we need to pothole. If you'll remember when we had that potholing conversation when all of our fiber companies were coming through. These are good potholes, not as opposed to the potholes that you see in the road. So we're very excited about the project. Starting to see some action.
Are we gonna post our sandwich boards, message boards yet, or?
These are not going to be permanent lane closures, and I'll probably defer to Brenda or ask Brenda to come up and share any additional information. I don't think it's time for message boards yet. This will be temporary lane closures. Nothing will be permanent. We don't want people to get too used to seeing those. We want to make sure that we implement them when it's time. So these will be temporary lane closures.
Okay.
But, Brenda, do you have anything to add on that?
It'll be more of a rolling operation at this point, so it'll be like
kind of like the last deal that happened. Okay,
So once you camera this and determine that the 1930 sewer isn't going to withstand, then that's going to be another item that you'll have to come back with a bid for replacing that.
That is correct. So we're gonna, I think there's several different options, particularly the segment that is about 3 feet underneath the roadway. We want to take a look at what that will cost us to actually drop it to a more to our best practice standards that we have now, dropping that sewer. It is such a high traffic roadway with all the heavy vehicles going over it, the vibration. It's amazing that we haven't had any challenges with this. It's a I'm trying not to use, so I want to say a ticking time bomb, but that's probably not appropriate. It is something that is just waiting, for something to happen, particularly to that clay pipe that is under there. We want to look at the possibility of lining. We are concerned about, lining. We talk about, we're not sure if that's a good option for along the corridor, particularly when it's crossing underneath, because the lining companies are not quite ready to guarantee their work under roadways like that. So they that's typically they want to see that on lower traffic streets. But again, one of the great things about having Burns and McDonald, their expertise, Capital, their expertise, we know that we are going to have a great product. They're going to have their staffs take a look at it and come up with recommendations on what we can look for. So we will see what that recommendation is.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that we're taking care of that now versus after we have finished and then we have to dig up a pretty new road.
Yes.
Well, and it's 90 years old.
I know, I just can't imagine that when they look at it, that it's not gonna crumble.
Well, hopefully it doesn't crumble when the camera drives through
And so
it.
that was,
But,
that was actually a question, was like, worst case scenario, is that portion gonna be shut down for use while the cameras?
Oh, yeah.
In use, or, so. What?
No.
What do
The
we
cameras
do?
go wide
if-
down there while it's being used?
Do what?
The camera is going down there while it's being used?
While the sanitary sewer is being, yes, we don't have any kind of shut offs or turn off when
Right.
it comes to sewer.
Yeah.
So,
it's not a pretty sight.
So, yeah, this camera is the equipment, that they have, it will be. I'm not gonna tell you that we haven't gotten our camera stuck or we haven't lost camera parts in some of our sanitary sewer on our personal, on our city operations. Do not recommend putting drones down the sewer. No, so, on our camera system, we've gotten it stuck before on stuff. I've heard a story about, folks who, this has not happened to us, but I've heard stories about, other departments who have been trying to camera their sewer lines and then it just disappears.
Mhm.
So, we are very hopeful, that the crew that is coming out, to do that, they are experienced in this, that they'll be able to see, record, so they can avoid any of those,
Pitfalls.
pitfalls, troubling moments, and hopefully we don't have any reason to think that structure is failing now, but we do want to go in, take a look at it, see what we are getting ourselves into before we do start excavating around it, and just making sure that the last thing we want, as your project team, is to come in with a very expensive emergency repair. We would just rather know, what we're headed into, before we get into it.
Right.
So,
Questions?
Motion?
Now, we do these separately, correct?
yes,
Yep.
so your
Correct.
first one will be amending your Burns and McDonald
Yep.
contract for the engineering piece of it. And then the second one, is amending the construction manager at risk contract with Capital. So that gives them the authority to procure these services on our behalf.
We have before us an ordinance authorizing city manager, city clerk to execute an amendment to the contract with Burns and McDonald Company, Inc. for the Rethink McGuire project.
Move to approve.
Two second reading.
Second reading by title. Thank you.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute an amendment to the contract with Burns and McDonald Co. Inc. for the Rethink McGuire project. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, 8.4, an ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute an amendment to the contract with Capital Paving and Construction LLC for the Rethink McGuire project.
Move this ordinance be, said bill be passed to second reading by title.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute an amendment to the contract with Capital Paving and Construction LLC for the Rethink McGuire project. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
8.5, an ordinance authorizing Missouri Main Street Connection Accreditation Signage Program presented by Phil Adlich, Interim Public Works Director.
Mayor, city council members, I'm going to invite Jamie Thacker up here with the Warrensburg Main Street. So this ordinance is authorizing the city of Warrensburg to execute an agreement for participation in the Missouri Main Street Connection Accreditation Signage Program with Warrensburg Main Street. Basically, Warrensburg Main Street would like to put a sign on South 13 and North 13 showing that they are a accredited Main Street program. We're very thankful that they are here in Warrensburg and work so hard to help the city in Warrensburg Main Street. So if you have any questions,
Would that be with the big signs at the entrance of Warrensburg along?
We opted to do 200 feet in front of it, so we didn't take it down any signage because NODOT only allows for so many signs on your population signage. So instead of taking something down and picking and choosing, we worked with Public Works to find the best placement and thought the 200 feet in front of it would allow for that signage still be a bit visible, but also not to choose something to be taken down or not represented. And this signage is only, it's a part of our Main Street contract. National Main Street started this new program to help represent the accredited Main Streets in all of Missouri and nationwide. And so we are one of 9 communities to have the signage, and we'll keep it up as we keep our accreditation. So it will be an agreement with the city of Warrensburg and with our agreement with the National and Missouri Main Street.
When you say in front of, you're talking about before the city limit sign? Okay, so it'd be in the county.
I think it's still.
I don't know where the line is
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay,
It's-
Yeah.
I didn't know whether we would have to go through the county to get their approval.
It's MoDOT right away. Right.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
thank
okay.
you.
Do you know what the sign looks like?
Yeah, so the big white sign, the size of like a, speed limit sign. It has the Missouri Main Street accreditation, Missouri Main Street Connections logo, and it says, Missouri Main Street, accredited program. So,
Thank you.
Nice.
Any other questions? Motion, please.
Motion to move ordinance to second reading by title only.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing Missouri Main Street Connection Accreditation Signage Program. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 8.6, an ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a contract agreement with Richter Excavating and Plumbing LLC for for the 2024 Sidewalk Improvement Program in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, presented by Phil Adlich.
Mayor and City Council. So this is an ordinance authorizing the city manager and clerk to execute a contract agreement with Richter Excavating and Plumbing to do our sidewalk improvement program. The bids were received a week or two ago, I don't remember the exact date, on May 1st. And we had 5 plan holders. Richter Plumbing was the lowest, most qualified bid. This will help our sidewalk program get all the sidewalks improved, not all of them, but a set amount of sidewalks improved. We have a set amount of $160,000 in the budget for this. And we will go improve those sidewalks until we reach that amount. So.
I think we had started last year was the first year for this particular program and we were in 2 zones. I think it's zone 2 and 3. I don't remember the zone numbers and I couldn't find it online. But I don't believe we were able to finish everything in those 2 zones. So will this be enough to finish those 2 zones and maybe move on to another zone? Do you know how far?
I don't think it's going to be enough.
We know what our linear footage is, and we can get that answer for you, and kind of understand where we're at, how far we made it in plans 1 through 2. And I know that the crew was also, continuing their inspections.
Okay.
Thank you.
They did a wonderful job
Yeah.
of what they did
They
last
did a really
year.
nice job on
Looks
sidewalks
great.
last year.
Yeah.
It improved it.
Significantly.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments? Nope.
Move to approve that ordinance or move that ordinance to second reading by title only.
Thank you.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a contract agreement with Richter Excavating and Plumbing LLC for the 2024 Sidewalk Improvement Program in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 8.7.
Mhm.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and the city clerk to execute a contract agreement with Advanced Asphalt Paving and Concrete LLC for the 2024 Street Maintenance Program, Hot Mix Overlay in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. Bill.
Mayor and City Council. So this would allow the city manager and clerk to execute the contract with the Asphalt Paving and Concrete LLC. The hot mix overlay bid opening was again May 1st. The city received 5 bids. All bids were responsive. Advanced Asphalt Paving and Concrete was the low and qualified bidder. As you can see in the tabulation in your packet, their bid came in at $476,426. This was below the approved budget amount. So hopefully we'll have a little bit of leftover. We might be able to add a little bit of streets in there. The city or the department does recommend that we go ahead with this.
Have the streets been identified?
Yes, they were the streets that we talked about.
Oh, during the retreat.
Yes.
Excellent.
Broadview.
Yes. Thank you.
Hawthorne.
Wonderful.
Move said ordinance be passed by second reading by title.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a contract agreement with Advanced Asphalt Paving and Concrete LLC for the 2024 street maintenance program hot mix overlay in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just one quick note about that. During our retreat, we did talk about how we would communicate what that list was. And so we're working on getting a Facebook post together.
Thank you.
Item 8.8, an ordinance adopting Article 5 of Chapter 28 on property rehabilitation of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, presented by Barbara Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. You have in your packet an ordinance that would create and establish in Chapter 28 a nonprofit public benefit corporation to be known as the Warrensburg Property Rehabilitation Corporation. And the purpose of that corporation would be to undertake the rehabilitation of distressed real property within the city when called upon to do so by public governmental entities or the courts, and obviously when authorized by the Board of Trustees created in this ordinance in front of you. This, we hope, will assist the city in addressing the rehabilitation of unsafe, unsanitary, and dangerous properties in the community, and in particularly ongoing efforts at 303 Ming Street. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
No questions?
Nope.
Motion, please.
Motion to move to second reading by title only.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance adopting Article 5 of Chapter 28 on property rehabilitation of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 9, other business. This is a resolution authorizing the disposal of 2 city-owned vehicles by community development presented by Barbara Carroll.
Earlier this year, the city, with the money allocated in the fiscal 24 budget, the city purchased 2 new F-150 trucks and placed those into service and took out of service 2 2009 Ford Escapes that over the years in my department have been driven by the building official, the city planner, the code enforcement inspector, and the property maintenance code inspector, and myself at different times. So those 2 vehicles have reached the end of their useful life for the city of Warrensburg, and we've taken them out of service, currently parked over at Station 2 at the Fire Station 2. And we're asking permission this evening to dispose of those. Those would be sold through the Purple Wave arrangement that you have. And I couldn't get any of the other departments to take them. So you have in your packet a copy of the form that they all signed saying they didn't want them either. So
So most of them,
undercover. I know, I got the police department taking the last one, but they didn't want these 2. So
most of them already know.
I know they have their own 2009 Ford Escape to deal with.
Just for my benefit and anyone else who might be listening, could you just briefly describe what that Purple Wave agreement?
So it's a cooperative agreement we have through the state of Missouri with purplewave.com, which is an online auction house. And anybody in the world can go online and bid on these vehicles or any of the many other vehicles. And they have some equipment as well, not just vehicles. But yeah, they can, purplewave.com, you can track these vehicles on there. They will come and pick them up for us
Nice.
as soon as I call and Chris and I get that arranged.
Thank you.
Motion to approve resolution.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 10.1, mayoral appointments. Let's go through all of them.
You can approve this as a slate.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. All right, so again, item 10.1. Mayoral appointments as a slate. Appoint Tegan Plummer as a member of the Energy and Sustainability Task Force, filling an unexpired term through April 2025, replacing Jeremiah Robinson. Appoint Bruce D. Euler as mayor for planning and zoning commission. Reappoint Jan Jones as city council representative for planning and zoning commission. Appoint Susie Latare as city council representative for diversity and inclusion commission. Reappoint Bruce D. Euler as city council representative for energy and sustainability task force. Appoint Jan Jones as city council representative for parks and recreation board. Reappoint Eddie Osborne as city council representative for the arts commission. Appoint Jim Kushner as city council representative for Warrensburg Convention and Visitors Bureau. Appoint Jim Kushner as city council representative for traffic commission. Appoint Bruce Euler as city council representative for tax incremental financing. Reappoint Jim Kushner as city council representative for the Johnson County Economic Development Corporation.
Motion to approve appointments.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes. Item 11, appearances to council not listed on the agenda. There are none. Item 12, miscellaneous matters from the mayor and or city council. Just a good time to say this.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make two announcements, very active city council we have. And Susie Latari has elected to sign up for the 2024 Elected Officials Training Conference, June 6th and June 7th. Appreciate you doing that. And Jan Jones has accepted the appointment to the Missouri Municipal League Municipal Administration and Intergovernmental Relations Policy Committee. That's a mouthful. MAIR for the Missouri Municipal League. And she'll be in those meetings June 18th. And I've also accepted an appointment with the MML Sustainability Committee. City staff updates, community development report.
There's several items in the packet, but just one I wanted to bring some attention to. Every 5 years, the building division, which is your building codes administration, building official, building inspector, and permit clerk. That division goes through an evaluation process from the Insurance Services Organization, ISO, and gets a rating similar to how ISO does ratings for fire departments. And so we had our review between December and January of this year, and we maintained our class 4 rating for residential properties and improved to a class 3 for commercial and industrial properties. So we'd previously been a class 4 in that and improved to a class 3. So appreciate the good work that division does for the city. And this being Building Safety Month, wanted to share their good news.
Thank you. City staff updates, fire department. Chief Jennings.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have the monthly activity report for April in your packet. A few things I'd like to point out. First off, the last couple of months on the average emergency response time, if you'll remember, it was in that 2-minute mark and it was somewhat impressive. So the first time I was impressed, the second time I was leery. So I dug into it. With our new RMS, there was a little bit of error in the data processing. So that's been fixed. As you'll see this month, that average is 5 minutes and 23 seconds. Which feels probably a little bit more accurate, but still leaves some improvement and some of that deployment that we've been working on. Also, 14 fires in the month of April, a few building fires, a lot of outside fast roach fires, and some vehicle fires. So have a pretty active month on the fire side. A few other things happening, the captain vacancy created by the retirement of Captain Heffensberger, Randy Heffensberger. We completed the process. I have to report that Kylie Fairkey will be, actually, today is the first official day, the start of the payroll, but she'll have her first shift tomorrow. So congratulations to Captain Fairkey. Last week, we held a large area search techniques class. It was a 2-day course. Woods, Parker, Neil worked with us on allowing us to use that building, which was outstanding opportunity to get a lot of good hands-on training. We had 18 in attendance total from our department, the fire district, and the Southern Jackson County Fire Protection District were all in attendance. All of our aerials and the 2 aerial trucks, ladder trucks, and all of our ground ladders were tested last week. Everything passed, so that's exciting. While Division Chief Soar was in Indianapolis this year at the Fire Department Instructors Conference, he made some contacts with some folks out there and was able to join a program that's early for the fire service. I'd say we're, if not one of the first 5, but definitely 10 or less in the country that are participating with a foundation called the Molly Began Foundation. She's a young lady that died of melanoma very young. That foundation has made it their efforts to raise awareness to skin cancer. One of the things that they do is they distribute a sunscreen dispenser and the sunscreen with it. So we've joined with them to provide that resource on our training grounds. So that way firefighters have that when we're back there training or doing drills, testing, things like that. So a neat contact that he made there to get all of that provided for free and raise awareness to that issue. Also, I'll remind you that retirement for Captain Heffensberger is Friday, May 17th, at Station 1 in the Bay from 2 to 4 p.m. There'll be cookies. Thank you.
City staff updates, big brothers, big sisters of Johnson County.
They included their quarterly report in the packet, but I don't believe they have anyone here to share. But if you all have any questions, I strongly encourage you to reach out to David Phelps, the executive director of Big Brother Big Sisters.
I appreciate them sending in a report. That's nice.
Okay, item 14.1, closed session. Motion to close part of this meeting pursuant to section 610-021 of the revised statute of Missouri relating to 1, legal actions, causes of action or litigation involving a public governmental body and any confidential or privileged communications between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys, and 2, leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate by a public governmental body.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to
Go into closed session.
go into closed session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari, Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.